The wooden car design is coming together, but right now there's just too much wobble and twist in it. Wobble and twist might be a good thing in humans, but not so much in cars. In fact, rigidity is important for comfort, safety and energy efficiency. But I bet you knew that already though, didn't you? Having only one wheel at the back doesn't help, even when that wheel's held tightly in a frame. But we still need to improve things a lot. The problem isn't really the front end or the back end, it's the bit in the middle, the body of the car. Now of course when the bonnet or the hood is fixed on, that will make a big difference to the structure, but adding the bonnet will be more or less the last chance I'll get to stiffen up the front half. So I'm looking at other places I can add support to first, without adding any extra weight, if it's possible. I did add some gussets where the sides join the front end, which helped. They're as big as they can be without interfering with the pedals or the pedaller's feet. Another place was fairly obvious. 4 inches behind the front bulkhead, there's a place for a second bulkhead. One that extends right up so the side panels can be attached in more places. But that's all part of the front assembly. So how can I get a new bulkhead in? Yep, you guessed it. Had to take it all apart again. Of course. There was a period in my life when I didn't have a workshop and I'd lost all my tools, and to be honest I'm amazed that I survived. Now I have the space to build all sorts of things, including a tiny car, and it's wonderful. I'm very lucky, even if I have to build it over and over again to get it right. I drew up this shape for the second bulkhead and took the opportunity to redraw the first one as well. Now I love my CNC machines, but so far all the parts could be cut out with a jigsaw. If this car works out, I hope to offer plans so others could build one too. And most people don't have a CNC router, of course, but jigsaws are quite a common species. The gap between these two bulkheads is only a few inches, but I think it will add a lot to the stiffness where the sides join the front end. I made slots to help hold and support the sides, and there are gaps everywhere so there's nowhere for water to collect. In the final version I'll be using marine ply with epoxy coating, but still you don't want water collecting in corners, now do you? No, Tim. Now those front bulkheads are designed to put more curve into the sides. They force a more roundy shape which helps with the stiffness. But that changes the shape of the floor pan, so that needed adjusting. Now that it has a more rounded belly, there's a gap at the front of the floor pan. Now, I could have added more floor to it to fill in those gaps, but I decided this is the opportunity to taper in the sides at the bottom as well. So I took more off the floor pan instead, all the way along, and tapered the seat bulkhead to match. Got that? Basically, it's turning more boat-shaped. The only other place for a bulkhead is where the dashboard is, so I'm calling it a dashboard bulkhead, and there's not a lot of it. That's because it has to accommodate knees and legs. I think the bonnet will be flat panels permanently fixed in place, partly because there's no room under there for storage anyway, so there's no point in having it openable, and having an openable top just means more framework, and that means more weight. If it's all one piece, then obviously it's going to be much more stiff and rigid. Here you can see why the dashboard bulkhead is the shape it is. I'm wearing really bulky knee pads in my trousers, so it looks more tight than it really is. But there won't be a lot of clearance anyway. But that's okay, as long as there's enough clearance for normal sized people. That will do, surely. I was able to place the steering column bearings under the top bonnet panel. So that meant I could leave out a couple of uprights. Of course, the dashboard and the steering wheel have to be positioned correctly, or you'd bang your knuckles as you turned a corner. So there's always plenty to think about. In fact, I angled that dashboard bulkhead back after that to try to extend the support into the middle of the car, because the middle of the car is now the weakest point, especially as I need to cut some scoops out to make it easier to get in and out. And that part has the least support, and it's the main problem area now. So I'm adding an extra wall on both sides, 2 plywood walls separated by 35mm spacer bars to make a double skinned wall, which are so much stiffer than single skinned walls. We had been wondering whether they'd need to extend the whole length of the car, but I don't think so. These ones just sort of taper away where they're not needed at the front. And the inner walls could have cutouts in them to reduce the weight. Alright, so the overall shape doesn't look very different than it did last week, but there have been quite a few subtle but important changes, all to give the walls more support and more permanent tension, and that, I hope, will make the car rigid. So, has it made any difference? Well, yes, it has, actually. It's much better. I really think this little car could work, which would be very exciting. Now I'm just working on some gears and brakes, and then we'll take it out for a spin. See you next time.